from the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. And I'm here introducing a school in Ipswich, which is Suffolk.
That's right, Suffolk.
Yes. Yeah. And please introduce the name of the school and introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Imani Sorhaindo. I'm one of the founder members of ACYCLE, and ACYCLE stands for African and Caribbean Youth Creative Learning Experience.
And my name is Stephanie. I am a coordinator for ACYCLE over the past 2 years.
All right, beautiful. So when and why was the school formed?
Well, the school was actually formed in July 2020, where we, a group of us were very concerned that things weren't really changing in terms of the Black community here in Suffolk, in terms of the children's experience. Two things really: their educational experience, not seeing themselves reflected in mainstream school, also low self-esteem and lack of knowledge about their history and culture really on a local level. So a group of us as volunteers got together. We knew a lot of partners in the education sector, and we applied for funding to get things started.
Okay, all right. So, who else is involved with the school? So you got you, Imani, and Stephanie. Is anybody else involved in setting up the school and running it?
Yeah, I mean, the vision came from someone, a lady called Sharon Murray Sakamai. She worked in the International Church locally, which was a church which had a lot of Black community going there. And she was doing her PhD in education, and part of that was really studying the needs of Black children, which was really fantastic. At the same time, I was made redundant as an adult education manager, and it was just perfect timing. They were looking for someone to take on the management of it. Kieran Manners, who works in prisons and also for the race equality, also was one of the founders. And then we needed some fantastic volunteers and parents, which then Stephanie came on board.
Started as a volunteer. So my children, my nephew, when I saw this opportunity, I thought, excellent, this is exactly what my children and the children around me need. So I began as a volunteer, and a position became available to be a coordinator, and I jumped at it because it is so nourishing to see that there is a provision for our children in Suffolk, in this rural location, to just boost them and build them, really.
Actually, beautiful. So what kind of feedback are you getting back from the pupils and the parents?
I mean, Stephanie can talk about the pupils as well, and the parent herself.
Yes, so from the children, wow, they have just grown so much in their confidence and their knowledge of self. So we recently had a reflective session where we looked at all the things we had done, been feeding them really through our time at ACYCLE, the different facilitators that we have had, and we are really kind of hyper focused on the fact that it needs to be a nourishing experience. It's about their self-esteem and their knowledge of self really. So with a young boy, his feedback, what he wanted to put down on the form, and we're really important about them owning their words. He said it makes him feel more browner. Now, when we explored this, it was that he was able to understand his heritage more. He was able to understand where his parents came from, the countries that, his parents' cultural identity. So it made him feel more Black, which is a strange thing, but this is the feedback. This is real feedback about him, growing in his knowledge of self, and that's what it was about really. But he didn't have those words at 7, but we've seen it, and we've had the feedback from other children about how they feel coming to ACYCLE, and also we've seen the change in them. We have seen them grow. We have seen them take part, stand up, and advocate for themselves and their needs. And so that was the feedback from the pupils. From the parents, we have had overwhelming support, and what the children have gone home and shared with the parents, and again increase the capacity of the parents, because the knowledge that we are feeding these children is things that their parents didn't know, and their parents are now, getting that from their children, and then at home they're going back and they're researching, and it changes the conversation completely. And I just want to add another kind of impact that we're making through ACYCLE is with our youth volunteers. Now, our youth volunteers work with the children to support them in the sessions, and they may be an older sister or an older brother to some of the pupils that already come. And again, because our facilitators are so nourishing to the whole experience, in them owning their voice, advocating for their rights, and taking part in their community, through having that boost of confidence, again, the feedback from the youth volunteers has been great, and it's really helping them to see how they can plan their future, and giving them all these extra links and extra kind of nodes to really explore and change their outlook, really.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
We found that, if you build that child's resilience, their confidence, their performance levels are improve. And the feedback from the parents is that resilience, that confidence then gets transferred into the mainstream school that they were. I mean, some of the children are actually, there are very few Black children in their actual school. We're in rural Suffolk, and and so the children many of them did not want to own or actually acknowledge their identity, and that then let them put their head down and had low self-esteem when they went into school. Now you're seeing those children going in, armored
big up the chest, head held
big
high.
up their chest, big up, and loving their culture, loving their hair. We even go down to looking at every single colored crayon to make sure that every child can color themselves in the accurate color that they are. Every single book, resource reflects those children, and it's a wonderful, empowering thing. Even for our volunteers, adult volunteers, many of them are adults, parents in the community who may not have had the opportunity to be taught Black history and culture. And so we have guests coming down from London. We have local educationists come in. We've had Black authors like Trovers, Murray the Milkman. We've had African drumming. I mean, the range is quite broad in terms of our creative, program. But all of it actually still teaches the English, maths, the science, and so on, embedded into the program.
Excellent, absolutely beautiful stuff. What kind of interaction or support do you get from mainstream schools? Is there any?
When we first started, the school where we were based, St. Matthews, were very supportive and encouraging, and they did promote it to some of the parents. So some of the parents then enrolled their children. We then took the marketing a bit wider, really, because we found that there were some parents who weren't living in the locality where the ACYCLE is based that also expressed an interest. So we then went on social media to recruit. So the schools, apart from St. Matthews, no one else had really reached out in that way to work with us. We worked directly with the parents who were concerned about their children's experience in the schools.
Excellent. So, when you set up supplementary schools, there's obviously a lot of partake and a lot of stress involved, as well as the good points. So start off with some of the low points that you experience in setting up the school and running the school, and then we'll finish up with some high points.
The low points, I suppose, was the timeline that we had to apply for funding. It's always a challenge for us, a lot of competition when you're applying for funding, especially in Suffolk, and a lot of Black groups don't often get it. And nobody had heard of our project. So we found that a lot of existing projects who are well known always get the funding. And so that was quite a challenge for us. And then it was writing all the policies that, making sure that the policies were not just on the shelf, the policies had to mean something to us and the volunteers and for the school itself. So it wasn't just a talk shop. And that took some time to get everyone on board with that. And we had to do some induction training online and so on. Those were some of the challenges, and time, people are giving up their time to really invest, because it's not just about being there at the school. It's all the work that sometimes goes on behind the scenes. That is also important to keeping it running.
And the high points?
Gosh, there's so many. I can't.
What makes it worth you coming in on a Saturday?
Well, actually, it's on a Wednesday night for us. It's on a Wednesday straight after school. I mean, the high points for me is seeing those children's faces, each one of them, where they act different. They just can express themselves fully when they come into that space. That's a highlight for me.
Stephanie?
You can really see the outcome of the space being curated. You can really feel the outcome when even I saw it at first for my child. So we recently had a like parents' evening almost, and I was given the task of speaking about my time being a parent volunteer and then taking on a coordination role. And I just see these children as flowers just blooming. Each week you see them, they're opening up more, they're sharing more, the questions that they ask, the feedback that they give. It's just really an amazing experience to be part of it and to see these little humans just blossoming. And I know that there's so much hard work that kind of went into the starting ACYCLE, getting it off the ground. As a coordinator, I've seen all the documents, I've seen all the hours put in, but it's just a vibe. I don't know how else to say it. It's just really beautiful.
And the fact that you're doing it on a Wednesday is as a reminder that we're not just Saturday schools, we are supplementary schools that are throughout the week. There's another one in West London that does Fridays. So Saturday schools is a bit of an old term.
Supplementary. Yeah,
we found that Saturdays, some parents are so busy, and some of them are actually even working on Saturdays, that actually it was a lot easier to actually go straight from school to an activity like that.
Okay, so was that the idea?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. And in terms of premises, because with a lot of schools, premises is an issue. Are your premises secure for a while?
Yeah, they had to be risk assessed and everything. I mean, it is a church, but we have safeguarding. We have to make sure that the space is, luckily adult education used the room that we're in for education. So it had to be checked anyway prior. So that was a bonus. We didn't have to then go back in and make sure it met all the compliance regulations. So we were fortunate in that way. Okay.
And have you got any services online?
Well, we had to go online with COVID, but that was a challenge. That was another challenge, to be honest. But because not all children engage in that way, and people the parent had to be there to put them on and rename them and all of that. I mean, the teachers, I must say, were fantastic. Moving, because we didn't know, we had to change our schedule from face to face to online very quickly. But everyone just embraced it. But no, we plan to continue face to face. It's just picking up, as Stephanie said, the vibes, of those children. And I mean, the other side is sometimes the guest visitors themselves. If we wanted to invite people from obviously Birmingham and London and so on, that obviously is an added cost to us to bring them down. But it hasn't been a factor that that prevents us from doing what we do for now.
Okay, absolutely beautiful. And what's the outlook for the future?
Well, our main thing right now is working with the parents to get them on board, because we need to be fundraising. At the moment, we're totally reliant on grants. We want to do a GoFundMe page, a crowdfunding page. We want the parents to become ambassadors, which they are, but we want it much more profiled that they are contributing to the fundraising efforts of the school, and the children are as well. So that's our next commitment, really, that we're working on.
Okay, any challenge, any thoughts about expanding to Norwich?
No, I mean, there's enough need. I mean, we have 20 children and we really need to expand even within Suffolk first. I mean, there's a lot more parents who need this. So we need to expand here first. So we're building that foundation so that we can then upscale, so to speak.
Absolutely beautiful. What you're doing is a fantastic job. I mean, there have been supplementary schools in Ipswich in previous years. I think I worked with a guy called it's Kudos was formed in
Leon Halls,
Leon Hall.
Leon, yes.
Still around.
I was in Kudos. Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
There you go.
Amazing. Is Leon still around?
Leon is still around. He's teaching at a mainstream school at the moment, but he's very much involved. He's like he plays an advisory role. I always, check out his take on certain things. And I am actually we're doing a Windrush exhibition here in Ipswich in August, and he will be featured because I'm going to be doing the history of Black Saturday schools in Suffolk. And we had our first international sort of Caribbean Saturday school from the Windrush generation, and now we are taking it on and developing it in different ways.
Well, tell him I'll say hi.
I will.
Greetings, Leon. Never met him, but I've always been in touch when he was doing Kudos, and like I do, I promote supplement schools around the country, and Kudos was one of the first that was on the directory, so I'm glad he's still involved, and I'm glad he's still around. That's beautiful. Amazing stuff. So anything else you would like to add?
No, I mean, if any parents are out there, just contact us, really. The email is contact.acycle@gmail.com, and just give us an email if you want your child to register or you want to be involved as a volunteer.
Do you have a website?
We do.
Yes, we do. www.acycle.org.uk.
And are you on social medias?
Twitter, it's ACYCLE Youth. Yeah, ACYCLE Youth.
ACYCLE Youth.
Yeah,
at ACYCLE.
At ACYCLE.
I'll put them up for you, don't worry. Beautiful.
Okay.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Imani. Thank you very much, Stephanie. You're doing fantastic work, and it's very much needed in Ipswich and around the country. So all the pupils and parents and supplementary schools, this is what we need, and this is what we're supposed to be doing. In terms, I mean, funding is always an issue, and there's always a struggle. Is there any support from local businesses?
Be Me Like We Limited play a key role at the moment, because one of the things that we had to do is to, when you're applying for certain funds, you have to have a registered business with certain compliance regulations that we didn't have initially, and so they have taken on a lot of the management support that we need. They've invested in the treasurer, working alongside us, really making sure all those regulations around funding is met. Because every time you go for funding, a different funder requires different, outcomes from you and outputs. So they've been great support. They're a local black business that support us tremendously behind the scenes.
Cool. So if there's any local black businesses in the Ipswich area, just step in, just fling in a little envelope, little £10, little £20.
Right.
It's no big thing. You know what I mean? Just support us at the schools, wherever they are. Just give them a bit of support. You can sponsor a child, you can sponsor a seat, sponsor a place for a school. So do what you can as a local business.
Absolutely, we're looking for
to buy in the future, really.
Sorry, Stephanie.
We're sponsoring the future, really. We're pouring into the future.
It's an investment
because definitely Ipswich is a close community. So, like I said, one of my first kind of introductions to supplementary school that I didn't go to was Kudos, and I can kind of see those young people still about and around in town. They're like 20 now, making me feel old, But I think it's really amazing, and I'm really excited for these ACYCLE youth to have that opportunity to bloom and really just take over. We've got a young person that is joining the children. She's been called up to be a child MP. Beautiful. So when I say these children are going places, so yes, businesses, any business, fund us, because we're doing amazing works and we will continue to do it, but we would like not to have to penny pinch.
Yes, absolutely. So Imani, Stephanie, thank you very much for your time and energy.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes to ACYCLE, and I'll be spreading the word far and wide as per usual. So thank you very much for your time, and
thank you.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.